Hey everybody, it's Tony Conespine from Great Vocal Majority YouTube channel, podcast, and website. You know, sometimes it's hard for me to, I don't know, keep it together. Because sometimes the things that happen that come out in the news are so crazy that I'll tell you, I don't know how the people that are really involved in this stuff hold it together. But what am I referring to? Well, today in the Jeff Bezos blog, now you know Jeff Bezos is the head of Amazon.com. He's like the second richest man in the world or something like that, maybe even the richest now. Laurence Tribe wrote just in case you don't know who he is, Laurence Tribe is a very famous he's a liberal constitutional scholar from Harvard University. He's a lawyer. And he believes that Donald Trump must be impeached. And he wrote an article, an opinion piece, in Jeff Bezos's blog. Now, you didn't know that Jeff Bezos has a blog. Well, you know, that's one of the great things about being the second richest man in the world. You can buy your own blogs, and you can buy real expensive ones that lots of people read. And his blog used to be called The Washington Post. You may have heard of it. It used to be a newspaper. Now it's a blog for Jeff Bezos. And one of the lunatics that he asked to write an opinion piece was Laurence H. Tribe. He believes that Donald Trump must be impeached. Now, I would not be entirely opposed to the impeachment of any president if there were sufficient grounds for impeaching him. Laurence Tribe seems to think there is, but when I read this article, I had to stop myself from projectile vomiting because there's really no reason in here given. Although he lays something out he calls obstruction of justice, but what it actually is a stretch. Anyhow, let me just tell you what he actually writes because I want you to hear it for yourself. I'm not going to read the entire article. I'm just going to read snippets. I wouldn't do that to you. He first goes into the fact that no American president has ever been impeached and removed from office, and Andrew Johnson came the closest. And then he mentions Richard Nixon resigned before he was impeached, which is all correct. It's interesting, though, he left out another president who actually was impeached. Probably just an oversight. William Jefferson Clinton. He forgot him. Don't know why he forgot him. He does mention him later in the article, but I don't know why he forgot him in that particular paragraph because he seemed to be mentioning the impeachments that have happened in the past, but he just happened to leave that out. Not a big deal, but, you know, just wondering. Then he goes in to say that now the country is faced with a president, and listen to this carefully, whose conduct strongly suggests he poses a danger to our system of government. You know, I really object to that. And the reason why I object to it is because he's saying that his conduct suggests. Well, you don't remove a president because you think his conduct suggests that he's a danger. And where the hell was Laurence Tribe for 8 years under Obama? Another liberal constitutional scholar, Jonathan Turley, seemed to think that Barack Obama was a threat to democracy and constitutional government. Was Laurence Tribe vocal about that? I mean, I wrote down a few things, just a few off the top of my head, that were impeachable offenses that Barack Obama committed, potentially because you know why? Because it strongly suggested he poses a danger to our system of government. Like when he extorted $20 billion from British Petroleum or Beyond Petroleum, whatever it's called, for that disaster in the Gulf of Mexico. Remember that? There was court cases going on, and he completely short-circuited those court cases by extorting $20 billion. He denied the due process rights of the people who were truly aggrieved in the situation, the people of the Gulf of Mexico states, the states themselves, the people whose property was on the shoreline. I mean, everybody, the shareholders of BP. He denied the due process rights by strong arming the CEO of that company into forking over $20 billion to his personal political appointee. Do you remember that? How do we know that the $20 billion was enough, too much, or, how do we know? We don't, and we'll never know. You know why? Because Barack Obama went above the law. That's why. Laurence Tribe, silent. That's just one thing. Then there was the IRS investigation that he poisoned. Remember when the IRS investigation was going on about whether or not they were doing things they shouldn't have been doing with Tea Party groups and other conservative groups? Remember that? And then Obama said, there's not a smidgen of corruption, he said to Bill O'Reilly. That was in the middle of an investigation. So the president, the boss, has just said the result that he wants. So what do you think the result is going to be? He didn't prejudice an investigation there? That's not obstruction of justice? That's no different than the obstruction of justice that Laurence Tribe is laying on Donald Trump today. And then there was the time that Barack Obama changed black letter law in the case of Obamacare 36 times. Laws that he isn't allowed to change. It's written right there in ink. That's the law. And he just took his eraser out and just said, no, that's not good. We're going to change it to this because that works better for me politically. That's an impeachable offense. He changed law. And then there was how he rewrote the immigration. Remember that? Because he wanted to get the kids to come in, and the kids did come in. And that was a rewriting of the law. That was really unconstitutional and wrong. And then there was the part where early in Obama's administration, the first term, where Chrysler went bankrupt and there was a proceeding and Obama upset, just 350 years worth of contract law and bankruptcy law that put creditors ahead of shareholders. But Obama had friends that were shareholders, so he put them ahead of the creditors. And that blew up the whole financial system because nobody was willing to lend money because they said, well, who is this guy that changes contract law? And who does he think he is? That was something that would have been potentially impeachable, but Laurence Tribe had nothing to say about that. And then there was when Barack Obama committed fraud in the inducement, when he said something like, I don't know, I think it was about 35 times, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor, no questions asked, then, period, no worries. And that was untrue. And the reason why it's fraud in the inducement is because a lot of people based their vote on that promise in 2012. And it was a lie. It was fraud in the inducement. So here's a guy going on and on about Trump being impeachable because of some flimsy excuse when there was a president that you could just go down a list. And I only did 5 or 6 of these. I mean, I could probably do about 25 of these if I spent any time thinking them up. I mean, but Laurence Tribe is worried about Trump being a threat to constitutional order. And let's go down this list. He says his defiance of the emoluments clause. The emoluments clause in this case isn't even operational because from what I understand, and people out there could correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that Donald Trump has given the profits of has given him profits of his properties that where foreign dignitaries might stay back to the government. He's taxing his profits at 100% back and giving it all to the government. So he's not enriching himself by having dignitaries stay at the Trump Hotel, from what I understand. Now, maybe that's changed. I don't know. But the last I heard, that's what was going on there. So that's not even true. And then he goes into Comey's firing will not stop the inquiry, yet it represented an obvious effort to interfere with the probe involving national security matters. I don't understand that. I mean, is it really? involving a national security matter, when you ask the president has no right to ask a question like that, like about the investigation. He's not under investigation. Comey has admitted that. Dianne Feinstein has said that. Chuck Grassley has said that they were all told by the FBI director himself that Trump was not under investigation. Maybe there were people in his campaign that were under investigation. That may be the case, but not Trump himself. So why can't Trump ask that question? This is what really just gets at my craw about this guy. And then he said he had admittedly phony justifications for his firing. The president doesn't need any justifications for firing Comey. He could fire Comey because he doesn't like the stink of his farts. He doesn't have to worry about anything in terms of justifying why Comey needs to be fired. All Trump did, and this is, I think, pretty standard practice for like a guy in an executive position. The man, he had nobody in the job that assesses the performance of the FBI director until Rod Rosenstein took that job on April 25th. He wasn't confirmed by the Senate until April 25th, and he was confirmed by a 94-6 vote. So Rosenstein goes in there, and Rosenstein takes 2 weeks to evaluate Comey's performance, and he says, this is what Comey did that was wrong. And so he recommends that Comey be fired. Jeff Sessions goes along with it. Trump agrees. Now, Trump says, well, he did that. Trump has been all over the place with his explanation on this, but it doesn't really need any explanation. This is what bothers me about this whole thing, is that Trump can fire Comey for any reason at all. But there weren't flimsy reasons in the Rod Rosenstein memo. Rosenstein's memo to Jeff Sessions laid out exactly the reasons why Comey needed to go. And they were good reasons. They were for cause reasons. Comey overstepped his authority. Comey usurped the authority of the Attorney General. That's not something the head of the FBI supposed to do. He was overly politicized. Comey went into the investigation into the Clinton email scandal clean as a whistle. I mean, he was considered beyond reproach when he went in. But then he made decisions and made some bad ones because he was involved with people who politicize everything. Bill and Hillary Clinton politicized everything. Loretta Lynch works for Barack Obama, and they both politicized everything. So Comey, because he was mixed up with them, went along with what they wanted and got politicized along with them. And that's why he went and he usurped the authority of the Attorney General. Notice Obama didn't fire Comey, which he should have at the time. He didn't fire him because Comey was doing what he asked him to do. That's why he didn't fire him. So, he continues to go on here and says that Trump has gotten in the way of this investigation because he threatened Comey, not about a loyalty pledge and all of this other business. Now, it's wrong for a president to ask for a loyalty pledge, and it's right for the FBI director to say, no, I can't give you a loyalty pledge. Okay, case closed. But to say that when he warned him not to lie because he had tapes, that's not really a threat. What he's basically threatened the way that Laurence Tribe thinks it is. What that is Comey saying, is Trump saying to Comey, you better tell the truth because if you don't, I can out you. That's what he's saying. It's not the other way. He's not saying that you better say that I'm not under investigation or I'll call you a liar. The Tribe is making just no sense at all here. And he calls it obstruction of justice, but he forgets that Richard Nixon was impeached because of a bribe. He bribed people, and it was on tape that he bribed them. You know, Nixon made a lot of mistakes. Nixon tried to cover up a minor burglary. Believe me, even if he didn't cover up that minor burglary and those guys were connected back to Nixon, he would have been impeached anyway because he authorized that. So it's kind of silly. This article, it's hard to really take Laurence Tribe seriously anymore now that I've seen this. I mean, it's really upsetting to me because I think Laurence Tribe is a smart guy, but he's not being a smart guy here. He's being a hack. That's it for me. Take care, guys.